Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I associate myself and my party with the comments of the Foreign Secretary about the terrible rail crash in Spain? And can I thank her for her statement? Madam Deputy Speaker, President Trump is acting like an international gangster, threatening to trample over the sovereignty of an ally, threatening the end of NATO altogether, and now threatening to hit our country and 7 European allies with outrageous, damaging tariffs unless he gets his hands on Greenland. This is an incredibly grave moment for the United Kingdom, Europe and our world. Without provocation or justification, the President of the United States is attacking our economy, our livelihoods and our national security. Trump has put British businesses and jobs on the front line in his unprovoked aggression. The only people cheering him on are Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. Only a few months ago, Trump hailed the special relationship at Windsor Castle. Now, thanks to his actions, it is nearly in tatters. So how do we stop Trump's damaging trade war? For a year now, Madam Deputy Speaker, the Prime Minister has tried a policy of appeasing Trump, flattering him, fawning over him, refusing to stand up to him, because, he argued, otherwise Trump would hit us with damaging tariffs. Well, the Prime Minister has tested his approach to destruction. It has failed. It is time for the government to change course. We have to finally be clear-eyed about the sort of man Trump is and treat him accordingly. He is a bully. He thinks he can grab whatever he wants using force if necessary. And he is corrupt. The most corrupt president the United States has ever seen. So there are only 2 ways of getting him to back down: bribing him with a new jet perhaps, or a few billion in his crypto account, or standing up to him like we would with any other bully, standing together with our European allies to make him back down. That's the choice. Which one, Foreign Secretary?
Well, this is clearly a serious moment. I wonder if the honourable gentleman actually saw the Prime Minister's response this morning. And he should know that it is because this is a serious moment that we respond in a serious way. That this Prime Minister responds in a serious way, in a calm, robust and hard-headed way about what is in the UK's national interest, and also how we work together in the alliances that are crucial for our security, our prosperity, and also are underpinned by our values. That is why the Prime Minister has been so firm in the United Kingdom's response. It's why I welcomed the Danish Foreign Minister to London today. And I think that the honourable member's description of our Prime Minister's response and our UK government response is inappropriate. I would say I think this is a really important time for parties to come together on how we ensure that we can respond to the situation that we are in, that we can work closely with our allies, but that we can also create a constructive approach to our Arctic security, which ultimately will depend on transatlantic cooperation and ultimately will depend on ensuring that those alliances and that transatlantic alliance respects the principles of sovereignty and respects the principles of collective security. That is something we will do in a sober and serious way.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. What we're witnessing is a very rude awakening for European nations, including our own, that if you don't properly invest in sovereign capabilities for defence and security and rely instead on others, then sooner or later you will be bullied or blackmailed by larger nations. And the question for us is, are we just going to kick the can down the road and just trundle along with small, gradual increases in defence investment, or are we going to chart a path to 3% GDP defence spending in this Parliament? Now, in terms of Arctic security, the Foreign Secretary intimated that only one British officer was involved in the Danish-led Operation Arctic Endurance in Greenland. Could she please update the House as to our current and future planned participation, and are there any political or practical constraints in that future participation?
Secretary. On the specific issue that he raised, it was not an operation, it was a planning process, as takes place very routinely, and that continues to be the case. What we are arguing for is a broader approach to Arctic security. In fact, the UK's strongest contribution is around the north of Norway. Our partnership with Norway is really now unrivalled. Both the commandos, the excellent work that I saw at Camp Viking and elsewhere, and also of the frigates, the joint frigates there. And that is our unrivalled. For a non-Arctic nation, our contribution to Arctic security is now unrivalled, and we see this as being part of Arctic Sentry, a wider approach to the collective Arctic security. But what I would also say is he raises the issue about investment. We are this is exactly why we are have put forward the biggest increase in defence spending for very many years.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले.
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.